So from Achai, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Achai, collector to fashion designer, that's the name of the project, based in Cambodia and Singapore. The aim of the project is to provide counseling, healthcare, and vocational training for Cambodian sex workers so they can transition out of the sex industry and run their own small businesses. So the organization that you're representing, Sarah, is Riverkids,
Yes.
and we will hand the stage over to you.
Thank you. Do I press something to make? My name's Sara. I'm from Riverkids. When I first met Marley, she was 19, and she had the cheekiest smile that you have ever seen. I knew she was a former Achai, which is a trash collector, so she used to get up before dawn every day and climb through mountains of trash collecting scraps. What I only found out later was that her mother had tried to traffic her 8 times into prostitution, to sell her virginity, and to marry a foreigner. Marley was terrified. Thankfully, though, she came to Riverkids and she got help. Not all girls are lucky like Marley. In Cambodia, it's rare for a girl from the slums to study beyond grade 4. So when crisis hits their family, they are vulnerable to human trafficking and exploitation. As sex workers, they can encounter violence and rape and disease. At the same time, their family is often dependent on their income, and they themselves are highly traumatized. These can be the hard women to help. Escape may look impossible for them, but it's not, because that's where Riverkids comes in. We want to give these women sustainable skills that can lead to long-term livelihoods. We work with 3 types of women: survivors of trafficking, girls who are at very high risk, and girls who have a family member who is at very high risk. There are 5 elements to the program. The first is the livelihood skills. So that's sewing and making handicrafts like these here. We pick these skills because they can lead to real jobs. Next is care and support. So these women are highly traumatized. Without counselling and social work services, they will not be able to succeed in the program. We also run workshops on financial literacy so they can run a business when they finish. But the workshops also cover gender and HIV, and the women are invited to bring other members of their community along. We also feel fun is really important. These survivors have been through trauma, but they need to feel like girls again. It also helps them if they have friends in their class they want to come to study each day. Finally, the root cause is poverty. If we take them to training but don't address the poverty, we will just be making matters worse. So we provide direct cash aid to the families every month. Our women can then choose to either work in their own business, to work for us, or we can help them find a job. We link up to both local and international markets. We try and find reliable markets. That is why our women make school uniforms for NGOs and schools. And before semester starts each year, the fabric room is awash with blue and white, and there are kids lining up to have their measurements taken. We are really proud, on top of everything, that 3,000 kids went to school last year in uniforms made at Riverkids. We want to take on a class next year of 15 more women. But to do this, we need your help. The $25,000 will help us train and recruit these women, but it will also help us grow our brand. We want to one day be able to pitch to the Ministry of Education for all Cambodian public school children to be wearing Riverkids school uniforms. Once we have achieved that, we will truly have successfully flooded the Cambodian market with our uniforms. I want to end by bringing back to Marley. So she's an assistant teacher now, because that's how much she loves fabric and sewing. She actually made this skirt for me that I'm wearing today. You can see her here in a dress made by some of the women she teaches. One day I came into work and Marley was looking really sad. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me one of her students, a girl who's 13 years old, was being beaten by her sister, who wanted her to work as a sex worker and not sew. Because Marley had built up the trust and love with this girl, the girl confided in her, and our social workers were able to take steps to ensure that she was safe. To me, what this story shows is that you help one woman find a safe path for her own journey, she will stop, she will pause, she will look around her and see who she can bring with her. Marley was one of those difficult cases, but today she is a hero.
Well done. Questions? What's your competition for school uniforms as well as handicrafts, and how do you address the competitive situation?
Well, what we do is, because usually, like most things in Cambodia, just come from the regular factories with different levels of exploitation and everything. But what we do is we try and offer quality, and we've been pitching to a lot of NGOs who are quite interested in a product where the money goes back to NGOs. For the handicrafts, we have a lot more competition because a lot of Cambodian NGOs make handicrafts, but they're still really good to give the girls a variety of skills and also to make sure that we're still getting something out there. And like some of the girls have trouble sewing as well, so it's good for them to have a skill that's easier.
Judges?
Can you tell us what will happen in a year's time, 5 years' time with this project if we give you the funding?
Yeah, so the project has been getting closer and closer to being sustainable. And what we like, so some of the girls every year decide that they want to work for us. That's either because they can't go find a job because of their home conditions, but that means that we have more and more women, so we can take on more and more orders and bigger orders. As this project grows with the number of women, so too will it be with our capacity to meet a demand. And hopefully, eventually, well, we know it will eventually pay for itself.
The suspense is good.
Yeah.
So we've asked this question a number of times. How do you select the women then that come into this program? And then how do they know about you?
So the women self-select, but the reason they hear about us is because our social workers work within the communities, and they will go around and they will talk to women. We also run excursions which are open to a wider variety of women, and they can come up to our social workers and say, I want to be part of this program. If they come up and say they want to be part of the program at a time when isn't actually when we're doing recruitment, we'll put them on a waiting list. But yeah, the most important thing is that we spread the message out there through our social workers, but they have to come to us.
Great presentation, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
The daycare centre that you offer for the kids, I mean, it's brilliant. You've thought of every angle.
Yeah.
So there's no excuses, right? I know it's free, but how's it funded?
So this program exists within a rider structure of the Riverkids organisation. We've tried to address the trafficking through a variety of different elements. The kindergarten is a program that isn't just available to these women, it's available to wider range of women in the community, and it sits in the Border Riverkids, which is a non-profit organisation.
Okay, thanks.
Great presentation.
Thank
and I
you.
wanted to just ask you a bit more about the team. Pio, Bona, the project leader, who some of the team members are. And it said Cambodia and Singapore. What's the connection to Singapore here?
Well, the project was actually, Riverkids was actually founded by a woman from Singapore. She's over there. So most of our staff are actually in Cambodia, the vast majority. There are a few staff in Singapore. We manage the funds just because the Cambodian, it can be a bit unreliable keeping funds there. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. So that's the connection to Singapore. You asked about Bona. Funny thing is about Bona is he is way too qualified for his job in a way. And he actually gave me a lift to work once because his uncle used to give me, and his uncle couldn't give me that day. And he saw where I was working and he said, can I volunteer? And I remember the person who interviewed him said the one problem is he seems too qualified, like, for this job. In terms of his role, so there are different staff members. There's the staff members who teach the sewing. There's the staff members in charge of microfinance, and part of their role is to go out and make connections with future jobs that these women can have. So we have to check out a factory before we can tell a woman it's safe to get a job there. So forming those sorts of relationships. Also doing pitches to schools and to NGOs that might be interested in our uniforms. Yeah. Yeah?
Hi, thanks very much for that. Just, I guess, a question. You know, there's a lot of financing, particularly in this part of the world, going into Cambodia. So, you know, if you didn't get the money, what would happen? And, you know, it sounds like this is part of an initiative. Well, this is one initiative, part of a wider group of initiatives. Tell me what would happen if you don't get this funding.
At this stage, because we don't have a funder for this project, we wouldn't know if we were able to run it without the funding. We previously had a donor who has now pulled out of Cambodia. So this project does actually hang in the balance quite a bit.
You mean the whole thing or some part of it? When you said this project?
Oh, the microfinance, the 15 women, that part. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah.
What is your ambition?
Well, like I said, making school uniforms for the kids gives the women a lot of confidence. And I just think they've been put down their whole lives. Their self-esteem has been made so low that if they were able to, we say that the Cambodian government has faith in them to make uniforms for all the kids, or even other NGOs have faith in them, that's huge for them. So I think the more and more we can get out there and develop the brand, the more and more we will help our women.
Good. Unless one last quick question, I think we're out of time. I'm getting stares from these UN Women people. I don't know why. Probably my time management. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.